Here comes the locomotive now, Class 73 diesel electric, arriving into Weston. It'll attach on to the first of the set of coaches to take the beer down to Oswestry. This is Dave Roll, he's the Assistant General Manager here at the Cambrian Heritage Railways. He's going to tell us a bit about what's happening today here at Weston.
Yeah, that's a very posh title for the person that answers the phone and puts the bins out. But anyway, Ryan, what we're doing today is we're going to be running a train into Oswestry to take some beer from the brewery up to Oswestry, because it's 50 years since any freight arrived in Oswestry by rail. And that was because they closed the goods yard in Oswestry in 1971.
So Dave, it's 50 years since the last goods train entered Oswestry. What's also been celebrated today?
Well, it's 50 years since the Cambrian Railway Society first got together. They started thinking about what they could do as a museum and a heritage line. Later they became the Cambrian Heritage Railways, which you know today. And it's also the 50th anniversary of the campaign for real ale, because there was also a group of people that met together and decided that they wanted to do something about real ale. So with that, and the fact that today is this opening day of the Great British Beer Festival, which this year is going to be around the country in different pubs all around the country, we thought we'd take the beer to the pub in Oswestry to celebrate the beginning of this festival.
Wow, that's brilliant. It certainly is a big celebration today. So we've got the first freight train arriving in Oswestry in about 50 years. Do you have any information on that last goods train to arrive in Oswestry in the 1970s, or was it a sudden closure?
It was a planned closure. There would have been coal coming in and milk and things that had been travelling in newspapers, but gradually everything went onto the roads. So the old yard that was where the supermarket is opposite the station now, that was the goods yard. Weston Wharf is just a goods station. It's always been a goods yard, and it was really here for the transfer. It was originally built for the transfer of bricks from the Sweeney brickworks on their narrow gauge system that brought them down onto the wharf. Things were transferred from the wharf onto the main line and taken all around the country. But then it was also had the goods shed here, which was used for storing grain and then transferring onto the trains, because there's a mill just opposite the yard here. But it was never used for passengers. That's a Southern Region 1945 goods van. There's an LMS brake van tailing at the end of the train. The other vehicles are passenger vehicles, which we're really using today for training purposes, because we're getting used to and practicing running trains ready for later in the year when we actually reopen.
So in September, Dave, what is the plan? What's going to happen, hopefully, from the autumn?
If all goes well and we've done all our safety checks and then we've done all the training, we hope to be running trains backwards and forwards from Oswestry at weekends for passengers. This gives us a destination of the brewery for people to come to.
This is Shane, he's the founder of Stonehouse Brewery. Shane, can you tell me a bit about what's happening today from your side of the event?
Yeah, we're kind of working with the Bailey Head and the Cambrian Heritage Railway to take some beer up to town and deliver it to the Bailey Head.
Fantastic. And what beer is heading to town today on the train?
Our best seller by a long shot, which is Station Bitter. 80% of what we make is Station Bitter.
80%, goodness. Okay. And how long has the Stonehouse Brewery been here, for those that don't know?
Just over 14 years now, Ryan, yeah. We called it Stonehouse because the property was named Stonehouse, and we thought that's a great name for a brewery. Before this building was built, there were just 2 chicken sheds here. So when we were here at the start, we were working from those 2 chicken sheds, and over the years we've kind of grown and expanded.
Well, you certainly have expanded, yeah. And you've always had that train theme, am I right in saying?
Yeah, that's right. We knew we were next to the Cambrian railway line here, and we sort of started with a bit of a train theme, and we've used that off and on over the years. It kind of made sense. You know, there's been breweries in the past that have done that too, and it just kind of worked for the location.
And as a brewery, you're still extending over the last year. I've seen that this new building behind us has gone up. Yeah. And what are your plans for the future as a brewery?
Well, we're going to, obviously with lockdown, it certainly hurt us financially. So we've decided now we've done this extension. We've got I think a great setup here now. We've got a great set of wholesale customers we deliver to as well. Great crew here. So we kind of think we'll just keep our heads down for a bit and see what happens.
So from the autumn, hopefully restrictions permitting, we'll be able to run passenger trains down to Weston for the first time. It's going to be great to have that strong relationship with the brewery, with passengers hopefully coming to visit you as well.
That's right. When we first built this building, the council sort of encouraged us to build this bar effectively, a visitor centre if you like, so that it could form part of the attraction for the railway, and we've always really looked forward to that, and yeah, we can't wait to welcome people off the train.
Yeah, the project is nearly finished, isn't it? And talking of going into the future in the autumn, what new beers have you got coming on?
Well, they're top secret, Ryan, but I can tell you we have got another a double IPA that is about 7% ABV.
This is Rob Williams, he's the General Manager here at Cambrian Heritage Railways. Rob, we're at Weston, and This has been built throughout the pandemic. Lots of work been happening. Can you tell me a bit about what's been happening here over the last year?
It's been a huge project, to be truth. So we've had European funding to the tune of 118,000 into this project. As I say, it's been done right through the COVID pandemic. So we've constructed the platform that you can see behind me. All the track's been put in that's new, the loading dock, the passenger facilities, it's all completely new. The only thing that's original on this site is the 1860s goods warehouse. We're finally in the final stages of the project. We're just starting the staff training and the stock refresh and all that sort of thing.
So at the moment we've got one platform here. What are the plans for the future though?
Yeah, the long-term plans is that the railway will eventually extend beyond here to Lungclas. That's our next phase of the Heritage Project, and as part of that, a second platform signal box will go in here, and the one platform will also be lengthened. It's also been supported with 120,000 from Oswestry Town Council to bring the railway to the site. So there's a lot of money gone into the project, but actually in terms of what we've delivered, it's not a lot of money. You know, we've delivered a lot of project for not very much money.
So you told me a bit about the money that's gone into this, but actually, who was it built by and when was it built?
Yeah, so Cambrian Heritage Railways, we're an entirely voluntary organisation. We've got no paid employees, so it's all down to time that people have given to us by volunteers. Add some contractors in as well, doing some of the specialist stuff, some of the ground moving, some of the wiring, that sort of work. But generally, most of the track work and the railway aspect delivered by volunteers.
And imagine those volunteers bring a lot of skills with them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Complete range of skills in the volunteers. We have people from ex-bankers to ex-builders in the sort of volunteer portfolio. But then we have people that want to learn new skills. So it's not just about people bringing skills they have, it's about people wanting to do something and pick up new skills as well. So there's a lot of skill training that goes on in amongst the volunteers.
Fantastic. And one thing I did want to mention as well, behind us we've got a pacer.
Yes.
And can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, the Pacers were gifted to us by Porterbrook, one of the mainline stock leasing companies, for Community Rail Scheme, which is Oswestry to the main line at Gabowen, and their aim is to eventually use them on a full-time Oswestry to the main line service. However, in the meantime, they're going to be used initially here as part of the Heritage Railway project, probably commuting people down to the brewery on late Friday nights, Saturday nights, but it'll allow us to keep them in good order, ready for when the community scheme happens.
So this is Phil, he's a volunteer at the Cambrian Heritage Railways, and this is his locomotive. Phil, can you tell me something about how you got this and what this locomotive is?
So I'd been looking for a locomotive for about a year. I've investigated one or two shunting engines, and then I came across this on a Facebook group, and we just had a chat over a period of a week or so, then went to view the locomotive, which was based on the Gloucester-Warwickshire Railway near Cheltenham, and agreed a price and bought it, and 2 or 3 weeks later it got transported here.
Fantastic, yeah, great deal. So this was already at a Heritage Railway, taking passengers and running coaches?
So this was withdrawn from British Rail in around 2003, 2004, and then the previous owner, Steve, bought it, I think, in 2005 and 6. It had actually got as far as a scrapyard, but most of it hadn't been dismantled. And then he spent a few years putting it back together again, and they've used it for their diesel gala days.
Okay, yeah, so when this was on the mainland, what sort of operations would it have been doing?
So built in 1965 and went into service in 1966, predominantly a southern region engine, so it spent most of its working life initially all in the south. It's called Class 73 electro diesel, so it's designed to run on third rail electric, which obviously it doesn't here because we have no electric, and then it has a smaller diesel engine to run on sidings and non-electrified lines. So it has a reasonable capability, 600 horsepower. It weighs 76 tonnes, and it would do about 90 mile an hour, but we can only do 25 mile an hour.
Yeah, it won't be doing that here, will it? But so even on that smaller diesel engine, it's still capable of getting up to 90?
Yeah, but and it will haul around about 7 or 8 carriages.
Well, Phil, the question we're all asking is, how much did you pay?
Well, the man selling it wanted £40,000 for it. I started at about 25,000, and we met somewhere in the middle.
Oh, there you go. That's all we're going to get out of it.
That's all you're going to get.
There we go. Fantastic. Well, it really is a great addition to the railway, and I'm sure you're looking forward to driving it along the tracks once we start running in September.
Yeah, it's exciting. Looking forward to it.
Well, thank you, Phil.
Okay, thanks, Ryan.
We've got a direct air brake. We've got a combined brake for the train. We've got a horn, windscreen wipers. We've got the throttle lever for when we're operating on electric. We've got a throttle lever for working on the diesel engine. We've got our main switch for choosing direction and type of forward we wish, if we're on electric or on the diesel. So we've got our air gauges for the main reservoir and the train brake. We've got a brake valve, a brake cylinder gauge that tells us how much brake pressure is currently on each of the bogies. We've got a vacuum control gauge. Across here we've now got a speedo and an amp gauge which tells us how much power the engine is giving out to run the loco.
Sorry? We're going to go to the field actually. So the train is now en route to Oswestry with our freight on board, but we've stopped for Rob to tell us a little bit about the work that's involved with the track.
Yeah, so the track here has been completely relaid. When we took on the railway, it was in a terrible state of disrepair. This area that we're standing in resembled a jungle, to be quite truthful. There was trees growing through the track and everything. So the trees have gone from the actual track. We managed the line side vegetation, but then the actual line itself, we've reused the rail, but other than that, it's had brand new sleepers, or I should say second-hand concrete sleepers, new stone to the site. Again, we try and use recycled stone where possible to reduce our carbon footprint, but essentially the railway is completely relayed at this point. So you can see there's quite a lot of ballast on the ground. Most of this has been moved about with machine and hand work, and we've just got the final lifting and levelling of the track to do, where we actually lift the track to its final level and force some of the excess stone you see underneath the sleepers to hold final level. But it's a really manual and time-consuming process, but we've done this virtually for the whole 1.75 miles of the Oswestry to Western Railway.
Brake on. And brake on.
Where do you want it loaded? How many are we getting in here?
Okay, Steve. We're going sideways or?
Yeah. Sorry, got it? Do you want to see with it open first? Steve, don't do it up yet. He wants to see with it open.
Got the beer.
To watch your cake rather than You'd rather. Oh, Robin. Oh, look.
Get it on.
Straight on tip pumps. All right, there you go.
Right. I'll need a few days to settle.